Now, in recent days, the Foreign Minister, the Defence Minister and the Prime Minister, they have been seriously telling us how much deep consideration they have been giving to President Trump's request to join an international maritime peacekeeping force to protect commercial shipping in the Persian Gulf. Today, ScoMo revealed that he talked to Boris Johnson last night about it. Now, no decision has been announced, but Hinch's hunch is that Australia will sign up. From London, Victoria Craw, the Foreign Editor of Newscom. Victoria, good evening.
Good evening, Darren. How are you?
I'm very well. Now, we have had this going on from days. We had the US Secretary of State was out here as well, and so we've had all of these conversations going on, and then we've discovered today that Prime Minister Morrison has talked to Mr Johnson, so it seems to be edging towards a decision. My feeling is it will be a yes, and I think it's the right decision if it is a yes. What's the reaction been to the British involvement?
Well, we've just had word from Boris Johnson's office this morning, actually, about that call with Mr Morrison taking place, and no word on whether the coalition would go ahead or not, but just that the two sides talked about the importance of cooperation in the Gulf, the importance of an international effort, and the need to sort of have more maritime security for ships there. I think the new Prime Minister Boris Johnson is very keen to have a strong relationship with the US, so he obviously wants to be supporting them on this issue. But there's also a sense that they would like to make it an international issue and have international cooperation in terms of the US-led effort there. So the UK, I think, is very keen to bring on partners like Australia to the initiative.
Yes, I think that is why even our Prime Minister has been sort of saying this is not it may be triggered by President Trump, but this is not an American initiative. It's going to be an international thing because the right to have free trade and free traffic and free maritime passage of commercial vehicles is something that is that's very important, not just to the American allies, but to the world in general.
That's right, yeah. We know that up to sort of 1/5 of the world's oil passes through the strait there. So, yeah, I think it's very, all sides are very keen to have international cooperation on the effort.
All right. Let's talk briefly about Brexit. Where are we at the moment? Because you got Mr Corbyn virtually saying that if they can block Boris in Parliament, he'll go straight to the Queen and demand he form a government.
That's right. That's what his Chancellor, John MacDonald, has said overnight. So at the moment, we're in a parliamentary recess in the UK. It's the summer break, and there's a lot of talk going on about whether Mr Johnson will face a no-confidence motion when Parliament comes back to sit on September the 3rd. And the issue sort of there is whether or not he will be able to, if he does face a no-confidence motion and fails it, whether he will be able to sort of hold off having a general election until after the Brexit date of October 31st, which we know he said is sort of a do-or-die date for the UK. So at the moment, it's a bit of uncertainty. All the MPs are off on their summer holidays, but no doubt lots of sort of phone calls and text messages going on to sort of figure out whether there's going to be this no-confidence motion triggered and what will happen if that is the case. You know, whether the Queen might be involved, whether it will be enough to stop a no-deal Brexit going ahead anyway. And, of course, it comes against the backdrop of the preparations for a no-deal Brexit being really ramped up at the moment.
Yeah. Now, I noticed that the Tories lost a by-election the other day, but it wasn't one that they really expected to win, was it?
That's right. It was they lost to a Lib Dem, I believe, in that by-election. So, yeah, it just sort of makes the whole parliamentary arithmetic a little bit more complicated for the Conservative Party and makes the prospect of a general election slightly more likely. We're also seeing Boris Johnson, of course, you know, pledge spending to the NHS and sort of work with the US. We've got the Foreign Secretary, Dominic Raab, off in Washington at the moment talking up, you know, British interests there. So they're on a real sort of broad offensive, I guess, to sell their government, which some are saying is laying the groundwork for a general election here.